La 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 land.
This is, well, before that, this is ridiculously better lit than my car set.
I know, right? We put so much money into these midnight screenings for just the car set. It could just go in a car.
If you look at IMDb, it might say the budget for midnight screenings is $20,000 an episode. I don't know if that's true. I'll have to check with Ryan on that.
Bottom line, there's much more money put into these than La La Land. This cheap,
Oh,
God, just no money put into it at all.
You know, it really worked out that because originally we thought we were going to be seeing Why Him.
Yeah.
Because we found out about a 2-week in advance screening, but it surprisingly got booked up relatively
I guess
fast.
it's really popular. Who knows?
So, La La Land instead, as funny as that would be, where there's a really good lighted episode of midnight screenings for Why Him? It gotta make sense. We're doing this for La La Land, which...
It does look like, I mean, it's just like pure black behind us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Which is weird. It's pure black, but when I turn around,
There's like Christmas lights.
It's the Griswold's house right behind us. It's sort of like, is that really back there? Am I imagining it? But it could be, because honestly, this, I could totally be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is going to win Best Picture at the Oscars.
I feel like this is what, yeah, because that's mostly like Hollywood people that vote for it and stuff like that. This is like another one of those like love letters to Hollywood and everything.
It is, and it's a great one. I loved this film.
It is really good. You know, it's because this is like a throwback to like, you know, because there's musicals that still come out, but this is like a throwback to like Singing in the Rain and you know, Guys and Dolls and like sort of those old musicals. And if you like those, you're gonna adore this.
You totally will.
I'm one of those people where even though I appreciate the hell out of those movies, I don't get that into them.
I do.
No, and I totally get it, and like I should, because by God, the effort and the talent, and they make it look so effortless. And they just do all these bright colors and these incredible dance moves just with this big smile, like, oh, this is just Friday for us, you know. And, but it's like, it's amazing the dedication you need for those. For me, it's always kind of like they're just so happy and so bouncy, and there's almost no conflict, and when there is conflict, it's always like, oh no, he's gonna marry that bad girlfriend, or, you know, like a bad rom-com.
Yeah.
Which I know is part of the charm of it, too. And that's what I thought most of this was gonna be, and then, like, the second half.
Oh, yeah,
it's really interesting.
Which is kind of why... Because I kind of like what you just said, where it's sort of like, I get why people like musicals like that. I get why people don't.
Yeah.
In that I get why people wouldn't be a fan of really any genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when you run into people who say they don't like horror movies, as much as I like horror movies, I get why it wouldn't be somebody's favorite. It's the same way with musicals, too. This one, on the other hand, like, I'm not gonna blanket say, like, if you dislike musicals, no, you will still like this. But I imagine there will be a lot of people out there who musicals aren't really their favorite genre in the world, but will really find something to like about this movie, because it's really clever, because the first half of the movie is what you would think from a movie like this. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's you know, it takes place in Hollywood, and it's about a struggling actress who's Emma Stone, and then there's a struggling jazz pianist who's Ryan Gosling, and they find this romance together, and it's all bittersweet. There's musical numbers in the magic hour, in front of the sunset.
Yeah, this whole movie is just done all at the magic hour.
Yeah, it's like a Tony Scott musical.
Yeah, no, like, it has to be an effect, which, you know, is, because you can tell these are like real, they're either real sets or they're really outside, and then they just have to somehow digitally do that background, which is a pain in the ass.
They do
it's like digitally putting in Gollum over Andy Serkis. It's like, you know, it can be done, but god damn, that's got to take a lot of work. I feel like it's the same thing here.
Or if it's
a green screen
lush
holding
matte painting in the background. So visual effects to it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very impressive, because it's the exact same sky in every scene, but it's like the most beautiful sky.
Yeah,
every single time.
I know how quickly that kind of sky can go away, because you can see some midnight screenings episode where we just kind of happen to be filming around that time, and by the end, it could be like a 20 or 30 minute review, and by the end of it, it'll be like completely dark.
Yeah.
So like, there's people who have I think like the 9 Lives video is like that, and there's people who've like sped it up to be like 5 seconds, and it's just daylight and then night by the time we're done talking. So it's like, yeah, I know how quickly that can go, that you can lose that.
In X-Men 3, like, one of the many complaints was that, it goes from, like, dusk to night in, like, a few minutes. I'm like, no, that happens in Chicago, like, all the time, definitely.
Yeah. Right. And also, like, they do such great... And I know there's a lot of digital work that'll go into this, too, but the opening shot in the movie, that all looks seamless. Like, it's just one complete... shot in this musical number on the highway outside of Los Angeles.
Like a lot of the musical numbers where it looks like it's all done in one shot. I mean, looking at it, it's like, okay, sometimes you can tell where there's a cut.
Sure.
Other times I'm picking up kind of like these digital cuts where they're still technically in the frame, but I could tell they got it.
Digital zoom?
Yeah, or either digital zoom or digitally pull back, or like they'll get a shot of them like standing still for a second, and then they cut, and they just went and got back to that exact scene later, after rehearsing or catching a breath, and did it again, and then they just digitally made it look like they were there the whole time and matched them up with the next shot.
You're better at noticing that than me. Like, I'm good at picking up on, like, when they turn the camera like that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, there's probably a cut in there. But, like, digital zooms, like, I'm not good at picking.
This is the first film where I started to pick it up. I'm not gonna lie.
I honestly forget that that's even a concept. That's even a thing that you do.
Yeah.
Like, so when you mentioned that when we were watching it, I'm like, oh, right. That is a thing that people do now, I guess.
Yeah.
I never really think about it, so I never really noticed that.
But it works. And I think with something like this, where it's supposed to be kind of like those old musicals where they wouldn't have, they would have cuts, but like when they wanted the great, big, grand, when they wanted to show off like hell.
Yeah.
They wanted to do it in one shot. And is trying to recapture that, and I think it really works.
I thought so too.
So the first half of this is very much the bright, colorful. Like the first song, you don't even see any of the main characters. It's just people get out of their cars, start dancing, and then that's it. It doesn't tie into anything, just like those old musicals where they have a song that doesn't have anything to do with the main characters or anything.
No, not except for the very, very end when it zooms into Emma Stone in her car.
Yeah.
But no, that's the first thing you see in the movie is them all dancing, and then it ends with that great shot where they're on top of their cars and you can even see the row of cars behind them.
Yeah, like all behind them, like, which again was probably digital, but it's like, it's hard to tell. Either way, it's impressive. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really, because it looks real. It looks like this is real, that like, maybe it is, but like if there is digital work that is in that shot, fuck me, I can't tell.
Yeah, no, it's really well done. and then sort of the second half, as the romance starts to get more into the complex stuff, and like I was saying, the conflict comes in, which I like. It's not, just another boyfriend or something like that. It's like, no, here's real troubles that not just couples go through, but couples in this line of work.
Especially, and the first half of it treats it in a way that you don't see a lot of in this kind of movie, because I really like the fact that, okay, Emma Stone's a struggling actress in this, but the actress she's playing in this is not a bad actress.
Yeah.
Like, when she's in her auditions, she's really good. She's really good when she's auditioning. And I like that. The character she's playing isn't flat in her auditions or monotone or bad. It really does show that, like, like how many really great auditions probably happen day in and day out.
Yeah.
Really probably award-winning performances that just don't make it past the audition room and are interrupted by some douchebag giving a note through the window to the producers and everything, or somebody interrupting, or a phone call and shit like that. That was really cool. And what I like too about the second half of the movie is, even in the first half, the first half ends with like the little, like, what do you call that kind of zoom? The iris coming in, where like normally it would be like
the end. Yeah, you think it's gonna,
Yeah, but even in the first half, you can kind of tell, like, if this were real life, this couple probably wouldn't last very long.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, like the career paths that they're going on, and also the fact that, like, at times, Gosling's character in this is a bit of an ass. Is a bit of a pompous ass.
Well, they both, and at first I thought that was going to be my problem with the film. I thought, like, this is an over-the-top film, at least definitely the first half. I thought, why couldn't the characters be a little bit more over-the-top? Kind of like what they do in, like, Marvel movies or Disney movies and stuff like that, really make them, like, disgustingly likable. But then as it goes on, I'm like, okay, now I see what you're doing.
Because if they were that over-the-top, that wouldn't have worked in the second half.
Yeah, it totally wouldn't have worked in the second half. Honestly, and even though they are good, I mean, they're very good, and they're very believable, for people in a musical, But it was something where I'm like, I'm not getting into like these musical numbers as much because I'm not as happy for them, honestly. But like, you know what I mean? Like when you do watch something like. I'm trying to think like a Marvel movie or something like that where the characters are just so over the top that when they do something you're like, because you're just in this over the top world where these almost feel like really grounded people in this over the top world, and I felt like, well, I would connect this more if they were more over the top, almost like cartoon character, but like likable cartoon characters.
Would make it more believable when they burst out into song.
But you're right that that would not transfer into the second half of this film.
It wouldn't. It would make it night and day. It would make it like it would make it like they're both two completely different movies in a bad way. And the musical numbers in this, I did really enjoy. One, I just like this kind of musical anyway, but also the dancing was great. I was tapping my feet along with it. And every great musical, the musical numbers are kind of part of telling the story. It isn't just everything stops dead and then they're just singing about nothing and then the movie starts again. No, like great musicals, the music is all part of the story that they're telling all throughout the whole thing. And this movie does that too. And when it hits the second half of the movie, when it shows like what would realistically happen past the point of where like the Hollywood musical ends, because really in the second half of this movie it drops being a musical.
It's very clever because the music is still there. There is music, but you're right, there's not as much singing, there's not as much dancing. Like when there's a musical moment, like maybe he's just playing the piano and she'll sit down next to him and they'll just sort of start singing together like sort of a normal couple would do, and it's kind of like the musical segments, they're still there but they're almost more turned down and muted, and again it's like not muted but reality sets in. It's like now the music is being used like how reality uses the music, and again like with the relationship it's like the reality is setting in, and that was very clever.
She has the moment where she's auditioning there towards the end where she has her big musical number, her big Oscar musical number. She is at least going to get nominated. I'll be shocked if she doesn't win.
No, that like they just saw Anne Hathaway doing Les Mis. It's like, oh fucking yeah,
we can do this. This is a better movie. This is a better
much better.
This is a better movie than Les Miserables. This is also more my kind of musical than Les Miserables is. But then also it does a really beautiful thing towards the end of the movie, and you see this a little bit in the trailer, also on the poster too, honestly, where it does a really clever thing where it shows what the second half of this movie would have been like if it continued being a musical.
And
I really loved that.
And again, without giving away too much, I really felt, because I'm watching this and I'm just like, because it's done through Ryan Gosling sort of playing the piano again. By the way, mad piano skills from Ryan Gosling. Who the fuck knew? I mean, you're just watching him play this stuff, and it's like, I don't know much about playing piano, but I'm like, you just watch his hands go, and you can tell he's really playing that, and it's like...
I was looking very closely. I was like, is he doing this, or is this like... Michael Douglas in Behind the Candelabra, where it was like some digital work and things like that, but I don't know.
If it's digital, it's phenomenal.
This seemed like it was really him doing it.
I don't know, how... I'm usually pretty good at catching that stuff, and it looked real. But I felt like, that whole last segment was kind of like, this is his musical, like, I'm just going to play our romance, like almost like how I saw it, what it was, what it could have been, a little bit what it is and what it could have been, and that was just a nice little, it wasn't even little, it was like huge, it was small, it was just sort of like everything, it was all encompassing. And
it was really sweet too, because like what's great about Gosling in this movie is this is the kind of part that could easily be played wrong. Like one wrong note in his character,
and he's really fast.
And he would be nothing but like an unlikable, like just kind of pompous dick. But damn, Ryan Gosling's really cool, and he's funny. He is funny in this movie. There's moments where, like, you know, he's a big music snob in the movie and things like that. But goddamn, like in the next scene, he might do something really funny, and like and throughout all this stuff like that, throughout the faults that his character has, he has great moments where like these two do really care about each other. These two are obviously in love. Like when he goes to where her folks' place are, and he like
talks about the audition.
Talks about the audition and like gets her, like, does his own motivation to get her to go do this audition, which was one of the best scenes in the movie. It was very, very funny, and it was really, really cool. And he's fantastic in this movie. And it was so weird at the end, because we're getting into spoilers here, but there's a character that turns up at the end who was with the character who was with Emma Stone at the end when they go to the jazz thing is Tom Everett Scott. And I know that name. That Thing You Do, American Werewolf in Paris.
Oh, that's it. Oh, we were talking about him a little bit.
We were talking about him yesterday, because I didn't know he was in this movie until he popped up. And even when he popped up in this movie, I had to wait until the ending credits to be like, was that him? Because it looks like he lost a lot of weight, honestly. Because I've seen him in 2 movies this year. One is this film, which easily one of the best movies I've seen of the year. I will be surprised if this doesn't win Best Picture at the Oscars. And the other movie I saw him in was Left Behind: The Next Generation.
The Next Generation.
He was the scenery chewing villain. Oh, I'm sorry. The full title of the movie was Vanished: Left Behind: Next Generation.
I just want to see the Rapture is coming. Engage.
I wish. I fucking wish.
The Enterprise tries to stop the end of just the world, the galaxy.
Tom Everett Scott, both ends of the spectrum this year. You don't see that very often.
You know, and you're talking about Gosling being, man, this could have very easily been played wrong or too overbearing or too jerkish and stuff like that. I'm thinking Emma Stone, I think very easily could have been played too weak. You know, I'm thinking like the way this is written, you give it to kind of a lesser actress, and she would just kind of look like the, you know, wavy ditzy, oh, I don't know, I just want to follow my dream and stuff, but you really feel the struggle that she's going through. And again, seeing she's a good actress and saying, okay, play this like it's a real goddamn audition, you know, I think really makes a difference. And for me, like, you know, the one scene, the big long shot, which again, I'm wondering if there's a cut in there because they do circle around her head and stuff, but that's nitpicking. Maybe it's not even. I mean, like I said, maybe they don't even do it. But the scene where I really felt like, wow, this is like really hitting me is she does her one-woman show.
Fucking right.
Yeah, which is brutal. I mean, it's just a brutal scene. And then Gosling comes in and just her reaction, like she's not even crying, she's laughing.
Yeah.
And she just has so much pain in her that she's laughing, and again, that can so easily be awkward and like not work, and it's just so beautifully uncomfortable.
Part of the reason why it works so well is we find out in that moment that her character's been doing this for like 6 years. Not a one-woman show, but like
auditioning,
trying so hard, going from audition to audition, working this coffee shop job and things like that, and being embarrassed in auditions, and now this humiliation with this one-woman show. God damn, you're right. Like, it's a powerful fucking moment in this movie.
Well, and what I like, you know, you said that they clearly care for each other.
Yeah, they do.
In this. And, you know, and at the end, you know, it's one of those things like, but is it love? Is it that kind of love? Is it the right kind of love? Is it the love that makes sense and stuff? And, you know, the scene where I really feel that's really prominent is when they're sitting down, they're having dinner. Like, he comes back from tour for just one night to be with her, and they're having dinner, and they get in kind of this argument, and they're arguing over is this what he wants? And she starts it. She starts it by saying, I didn't know this was what you want. Is this what you want? You know, you're giving up, you know, on your dream, and this is going to be years and years of this. Is this really what you want? And so many movies like this with romances, understandably so, you know, they're saying, you know, this isn't what I want. They make it about themselves, and that just so clearly shows they do care about each other, and they're not really that selfish. And I like characters where they don't just do that in a romance. Oh, they got their head stuck up their ass, or they got too egotistical, which that does happen, but it happens so many more times in the movies. And you just want to see something new. And this felt like a real unique relationship, like a connection that, I really want to see what happens to them.
Another thing that made me think how much these two people are genuinely in love with each other is we do kind of see two alternate realities we've already said there'll be spoilers. There's always spoilers in the show, but like we basically see two different realities at the end of this movie, and both of them end with Emma Stone's character gazing at Ryan Gosling. That she's totally in love with this dude. I can't recommend this movie highly enough. Like it's easily one of the best movies of the year. And we were talking before we watched the movie that I love musicals anyway, and I love musicals so much I even love the bad ones, like in completely different ways. Like not all bad ones. There's some where even I'm like, fuck off. Some of the Disney sequels, for instance. But no, like I can sit down and I can watch a movie like this or Singing in the Rain, and I can also sit down and watch Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band or Grease 2 or something like that.
Paint Your Wagon.
Oh, that one's rough.
That one's very rough.
That's one where even I'm kind of like, I kind of just want to watch the Simpsons version instead. That's slightly better, actually. At least it's only a few minutes long.
I will say, again, because I'm someone that I like musicals, but I like them more kind of like, I know there is a difference in the kind of musicals. I do kind of like more like what Disney does, even though I know that can get formulaic too, and they sort of have the standard songs and stuff. But there is something where it does, if done right, it will move the story along and really show what a character is going through. I always love the something I look forward to in every Disney film, either the villain song or what we always call the I'm done with this shit song. Or the fuck this shit song, and those are always like the most popular one, like the Let It Go or the Hellfire, and stuff like that. Like we love those songs.
What about like, do you remember when they used to have like the opening credits would usually just be a montage of the songs that they're about to play in the movie? I think Oklahoma does that.
Cannibal
like the Musical does that. Oh yeah, the overture.
Yeah,
like overture. The Great Race does it as an overture at the beginning where they're playing a couple of the songs from the movie.
But I think with this, like, this is definitely a the kind that's not necessarily the kind of musical this is, even though there are songs that move it along. Again, the very first song in this movie, you could cut it and not really miss anything in terms of the story or what's going on. You could just cut to them in the car.
It sets up the tone of the first half of the movie.
Exactly. A lot of these musicals, the big, production musicals, are much more about the tone and having a good time and, fun, fancy-free and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at first, I was like, I mean, this is good. This is really, really good. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get into it. So it wasn't until that second half that I'm like, nah, I get it. Now I get what you were doing there. Yeah. It's still great. It's still talented, but I guess I'm saying to the people out there that don't get into like Singing in the Rain and stuff like that, I don't know if this is going to sway you, but keep with it. It gets interesting.
No, totally. And I love both halves of this movie. I was pretty hooked on this from the beginning, and I like numbers like at the beginning of the film because that kind of musical number really does kind of set up the world you're about to see. Like a good example of that is, this is honestly one of my favorite musicals, is Shock Treatment, and the opening musical number of that, the Denton song, where the Denton, where they're all singing about living in Denton, what the TV studio is like, and you really it really sets up the entire world this movie is taking place in this TV studio, which is basically kind of the whole town. And this is, they're both wildly different movies, but no, I like opening musical numbers like that. I really do. And there's ones where like where a lot of people don't like. I can if a movie is if the music is really rocking in a movie, like I can still genuinely enjoy it and think it's a pretty good flick. Like I fucking love Xanadu. One of my favorite bands is ELO, so I can watch that and just have a fucking great time with that movie. I genuinely love that movie. But no, you're right. This is more than just like I'm just kind of tapping my feet along with the music is going along, even though I was having a great time with all the songs, but this is genuinely a great fucking movie.
Yeah, and like I said, it's I think another reason that I think people, especially in Hollywood, are gonna relate to it, but also just makes it good in general.
Yeah,
is I really feel like it shows, like, I mean, we're both entertainers, you know, we are in a different field. I mean, it's online stuff and everything, so you know, it's not necessarily the audition route and stuff like that. But I mean, we've had to go through a lot of trial and error before we got any of this. You know, before I even knew online could be a thing. You know, I had to go through, you know, different shows and different jobs and illustration. You know, all sorts of stuff. And it is one of those things where it's just so much trial and error, and I think from my end, I haven't even had, you know, a fraction of what so many people in Hollywood go through.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where it's kind of just like, I think in entertainment it's overlooked or played down. It's like, oh, I'm never gonna be anywhere, and then they get their big break, and the whole movie's about them getting their big break, but then they lose what the focus is. It used to be about the music, man, and I feel like this is one of those movies where it's like, okay, no, all of that stuff has been, you know, done to death. It's a cliche. Yeah. Let's look at this like we're not going to do the cliches. We're going to look at, like, this is really what these people go through. We're going to really show that struggle and the ups and downs and the pros and cons. And, you know, even at the end, it's kind of like one makes it and the other does technically make it, but just not as big.
He's seen as he's not that he really wanted to be big by any means, but he wanted to have that bar. He wanted to have that jazz club, and he got it. Like that was his dream. That was his dream, to have his own club and to do his own music, and he got that. Both of them really kind of, other than having each other at the end of it, both of them are pretty successful.
Well, and that's such a big thing that I think a lot of these you know, sort of movies and romances miss, is that, you know, because they always like to throw it on one bad character, the one that they're gonna marry that they don't love, or the jerk boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. And this is like, no, sometimes it's just the situation gets in the way, and it's either like your dream or your love, or, you know, which love do you want? The love of your job or the love of your special person?
And that happens a lot in Hollywood.
Yeah, no, a ton. I mean, that's why when people are like, oh, Hollywood couples, tee-hee, ha-ha, they always break up and stuff, it's like, there's a reason. There's a reason they get together, and there's a reason they break up. I mean, it is like that world is a really tough, stressful world, and it's a very different world than like what most people live, you know? So I like that this really does kind of address that without going the typical, you know, used to be about the music, man. Even though they kind of do that too, but they do it in a way where it's like, you feel like you haven't heard this before.
No,
because you're seeing it through genuine eyes.
Yeah, you're seeing it through, you're seeing it through characters that don't feel like cliches, even though we've seen this kind of story before, like something like New York that Martin Scorsese did. But yeah, it just, I don't know, it just feels genuine. It feels 100% genuine. It feels like a loving tribute. It feels like, man, I just want to see more movies like this. Yeah. I really do. I want to see, and also that they do a great thing at the beginning of it where it shows the CinemaScope logo. And
in a square, like, and then it stretches out.
It's like, this is what I want to see in like CinemaScope, not like Hateful Eight, we're just hanging out in a cabin for 3 hours. Like, I mean, you know, that movie has its fans. I like this movie better.
Yeah, this definitely feels like it takes advantage of the fact that it's going to be like these old school musicals, but with modern updates. Yeah. You know, and a lot of people, that alone almost seems like a cliche, you know, the modern updates, but it's like, there's, if you have the technology, you have the ability to do it, do it.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, just have the discipline and have the restriction to know what to use and what not to use. And it seemed like this knew what to use, you know, and like I said, it's definitely one of those where if you like those old musicals, you're going to adore this beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you don't love those, I would say still give it a chance, because when you see what it does, it's like, ooh, okay, like this was really clever. This was really, really smart.
I'm definitely going to write to Sarah about this. Sarah will hands down love this film. But she gets to go see Collateral Beauty with me instead, which I'm sure is equally as magnificent from what I've been hearing so far.
Oh, and I'm sure it's a musical too.
Actually, oh my God, I hope so.
Will Smith will do a rap to Death. I'm Death. Nope, nope. Death just don't understand.
Holy shit, if that happens in that fucking movie, I don't know what the critics are talking about. This is a fucking masterpiece. She and I are both looking forward to that in wildly different ways than we were looking forward to La La Land. I write to Sarah and I'm like, okay, so I'm being told that Collateral Beauty is like a spiritual successor to Winter's Tale. Do you want in? Sarah writes back, fuck yes, I do.
Even from the trailer, I'm like, I wonder if this is just a prequel to Will Smith's devil character in that movie.
Yeah, gotta wait for the Jimi Hendrix shirt to pop up.
One last thing I think we should address about this before I forget, because this is a musical, there's a lot of dancing, there's a lot of music. There's also singing, and neither Ryan Gosling or Emma Stone are good singers. I'll just say they're not good singers, but they know how to act it well, and they know how to make it work with the scene, and whenever they're doing their routine, I was never distracted by it. I immediately picked up, okay, these are not, they're not projecting, it's not very smooth, but it always felt, like you said, it felt genuine. And it worked. It really worked.
No, it totally does. And I never for a moment sat there like, ugh, when they started singing, because it all depends on what the character is about, how they would sing, how they would project, how they would do this certain song that they're doing. Like, not every character in a musical has to be Whitney Houston, you know? Like, a lot of people gave flack to Burt Reynolds in At Long Last Love, but when you actually see that movie, this is exactly how that character would do this stuff. He's this, kind of buffoonish, like cowardly lion, bravado, like type kind of doof in that movie. That's exactly how that guy would sound if he was singing the musical numbers that he has in those movies, especially with it being the kind of top hat screwball musical that it was. And yeah, like in here too, it's like, this is, honestly, I don't think they're bad, really. Like,
no, it's not like, but they're very whispery and just sort of, it's all kind of falsetto and stuff. But I mean, it really, well, especially during her last number.
Totally,
with the one shot. I mean, that's perfect. That's exactly what's needed for that. The other one I was bringing up before, it's like in Moana when The Rock sings. I mean, that is, by God, not a good voice by any means. But he completely makes it work. He makes it work with the character, and he gets it enough where you're still humming the song afterwards and stuff. And it's, like you said, you feel like that's exactly how this character would do this.
Yeah.
With like Russell Crowe and Les Mis, it's like, no, that is not how this character would do this. And he looks uncomfortable and awkward, and he's struggling, and, I think they have to own it.
It's that, like, who would you even call it? Like, talk singing that he
like the
does
Rex. I always call Rex Harrison it.
Yeah, I can see that. Right, yeah. Again, I like this so much better than Les Miserables, honestly.
Well, and there's the moves and everything, the dancing and the piano playing and stuff like that. Like I said, every day they either woke up to this movie, all the actors, they woke up either super excited or were like, fuck this movie. Like every day, because when you see what they have to do, it's like, Jesus,
I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And then they calm themselves down. Like Emma Stone's like, all right. Well, at least this isn't Aloha. Ryan Gosling's like, what is something? I don't know. Ryan Gosling would be like, well, it's not Only God Forgives, I guess.
I don't know.
I'm trying to.
At least it's something people are gonna see.
Yeah. All right. Any other final thoughts on the movie?
No, it is a good movie. Yeah. And it's different than what I thought it was gonna be, which I like. I like it when a movie kind of throws me for a loop, especially like halfway through. Yeah. I like when it does that.
Same here. I highly recommend it. Coming up within the next couple days, something called Rogue One.
Oh, they're finally giving that X-Men movie spinoff, right?
Hell yeah!
About time.
About fucking time.
They're just taking the footage from Days of Future Past and giving it his own movie. Just called it Rogue One.
Still better than Apocalypse. We got that and Collateral Beauty.
I can't wait to see your thoughts on that.
I can't either. See it.
Bye.
I